Hello, my name's Tom Cahill. This is just going to be a quick video. It's 9:31 GMT plus 1 on Wednesday the 17th of August 2016. Yeah, I've just been looking up this video here. It's called Tile Tracker Battery Replacement and Disassembly Teardown Procedure, and what it's doing is this thing called a tile. It's basically like a GPS thing with a built-in battery, just like a you know, those fire alarms that they gave out that have got just a normal battery, but they lock them together, so you have to buy a whole new fire alarm that the fire brigade come round and fit in people's houses. You know the ones, right? It's a complete scam. They just glue them together or fuse them together, so you have to cut them apart, but then they would continue to work fine forever. It is a mega scam, and considering that people go on about environmental issues and all this stuff about how they're trying to save on resources, this idea that you have to throw, in these cases, these things away after a year. Now these are only very small, but they say they can replace them, but you have to send them back and pay them again. So what these are for is for keys and stuff like that. They send out a little beep and stuff. You can use them as GPS. You can track your stuff. Do you know what I mean? But of course, if you have to replace them after a year, that could get very expensive if you had them on a few. Well, not very expensive, but you know, well, either way, it's a complete waste when you can just change around a battery that cost a couple of pence. Anyway, so this guy called Davey, D-A-V-E-E, has basically explained how you can just saw them together with a bread knife and then everything will be fine. But then there's this guy here, Paul Palmer. He's slagging him off and saying, oh, it's a shame because, oh, you're well intentioned, very patronisingly, saying that it wasn't really helpful. He's just saying you can chop it apart with a big knife and the batteries are irreplaceable, but the batteries aren't irreplaceable, obviously, because it's just shown as a normal battery inside. And this guy, Paul Palmer, I think's put him down very well. He said, use the talents you possess. For the woods would be a very silent place if no birds sang except for the best. And this is this guy called Henry Van Dyke who said that. I just think this is very appropriate for YouTube videos because, well, whilst yeah, he should have said yeah, it does work when the battery's replaced, it's kind of inferred that if it doesn't, you know, it's a step in the right direction. Yeah, he should have said that, but it's true. And if you're finding out about something, what a lot of people do is they insist on having the full answer. And it can be seen here that even with a very simple thing here, I presume the guy didn't even realise he had to say that, you know, there's extra, you know, that would just be a given, that you can replace the battery, then it will work. That's kind of obvious, or that it should work. But you see, that's very similar to lots of the videos I've done about more deeper subjects, less technical subjects, but more, you know, kind of like anecdotal type things. You're never actually going to do anything or get anywhere if you never actually mention anything, because the second you say, oh, that person's lying, somebody else will always come and say, well, who's telling the truth and what have you done to, you know, prove that they're definitely lying? Where's all your evidence, even if you've got lots of evidence? And this is the thing, so if you ever take a step in the right direction in life, it seems to be that other people are very quick to hem you back in, but a lot of that is simply that they demand that then you give them a comprehensive alternative answer, which is 99% of the time totally impossible. And as we know with all knowledge, normally you find out that it gets superseded by a higher level of knowledge at some point. That's kind of the whole thing. You've got to realise everything is to an extent transient, I suppose, especially with, you know, deep, complicated things. 2 and 2 will probably always equal 2, but then that's a kind of hypothetical, theoretical. Maths is a hypothetical abstract of, you know, which can be used very usefully for it, but it's not actually, it's kind of just a hypothetical aspect of things, isn't it? There's no such thing as a 2 or a plus or an equals. They don't actually exist. They're hypothetical constructs for the human mind to understand. So that was Davey, D-A-V-E-E, and he was commenting to Paul space Palmer, P-A-L-M-E-R, and he was quoting Henry Van Dyke, Henryvan space D-Y-K-E. For the woods would be a very silent place if no bird sang except for the best. So that's what I think people should be saying more in YouTube videos, instead of calling people pedos and cunts. Anyway, so that's Tom Cahill. It's 9:36 on the 17th of July 2016. It's Wednesday. Let me know what you think with your comments. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.